This is WVVA in Focus, a weekly program about important issues and events in the two Virginias.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this edition of In Focus. I'm your host, Melinda Zosh. This morning, we're discussing a group in Mercer County that helps children. They're marking 20 years of serving children in need. ChildLaw Services celebrated the milestone with a book fair recently. We have some video we'd like to share with our viewers now. The organization says the money from the fair will be used for a program which provides reading material for the kids they serve. And the event included a ribbon cutting for the group's new location on West Main Street in Princeton. Take a listen.
ChildLaw Services is an organization that's made by this community to serve its children. And I think one of our hopes is that the children that we help build and the programs that we help give to those children are going to be our future. They're going to be the adults of tomorrow, and they're the ones that are going to sustain this community.
And also, ChildLaw Services received a special visitor recently. So take a look. Santa Claus was on a special mission to visit with kids at the center. It's for those children who may not really like being around crowds and loud noises, but Santa shared his sensitive side with these youngsters, each receiving one-on-one time so they can tell him what's on their wish list.
Able to come in and meet with Santa, and Santa was able to give them reindeer dust to pass out in their yard at night on Christmas Eve, so Santa could find their house, and they were able to have milk and cookies on their way out, and other snacks as well. They all had a lot of fun.
I bet they did have a lot of fun, and this was Santa's only visit to the center, and they hope they can get him to come back next year. Now I'd like to introduce two guests who will share more information about this important organization we've been discussing. Joining me now is Kathy Wallace, the Executive Director of ChildLaw Services. So Kathy, thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having us. We're excited about all those events.
Oh, we are too, and excited to talk to you about 20 years serving people in the area and in West Virginia. Also joining us this morning, Robert Hale, a board member with the group. So Robert, you as well, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy.
Yeah, we're excited to talk to both of you to share more about ChildLaw Services. But Kathy, I'll start with you. So ChildLaw Services just celebrated 20 years, and there's a new location in Princeton that we just mentioned. Tell us more about that.
Well, we have been growing and growing throughout the years. The organization started 20 years ago by Judge Marion Griffith that you just saw on the TV there, and she had this dream that that there'd be a group of people who believed in children so much that they would go the extra mile for them. And it wasn't enough just to go to court with them, but we needed to build stronger kids that would become responsible adults when they got older, and we would do preventative programs and programs that empowered them. So that has grown and grown and grown, and like a lot of nonprofit organizations actually, so we went from an organization of 2 people to 16.
Wow.
Outgrew our space, and we have been looking for the last 4 years actually for that special place that could be a safe haven for children in this community that needed our help.
So tell us more about, you said you outgrew the old space, so tell us more about this new location and just the advantages of being in this new location in Princeton.
Well, it's a lovely, lovely old home built in 1905, known as the Crockett House in the Princeton community, and has had families in it throughout the years for the last 100-some years. But I think there was a couple pictures of it there at the very beginning of it, but it has a wide wraparound porch. It has rooms. We have a soft interview room that's very conducive to children feeling comfortable and feeling safe, and of course extra space for all the staff that we have now too. So we're pleased to be in a home setting. I mean, we're a law firm, but we only represent children. We're the only nonprofit law firm in the state, as a matter of fact, that just represents children. And we're just pleased to have such a warm and inviting home for that. And it's special to us because the community helped find this home for us. Everybody in the community has just risen to the occasion. They come to our events, they've donated money, and that's helped us to grow. And it says to us that other people believe in our mission, and other people want a future for our kids and a future for this community. So it just has all sorts of good feels to it. It really does, in so many different ways for our children, and the fact that it's part of the community, and the community wanted this for us.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and what you do is also a big deal, and you just touched on it a little bit, but you're the only law organization in the state that represents children.
Absolutely. The only nonprofit, right, that does exclusively children. There aren't too many that just do children either. But I think it's important, too, that we originated here in Princeton, West Virginia, small old Princeton, West Virginia. But this organization now has sites in Charleston and Morgantown, and we're opening our Martinsburg office here in just a month or two. And we're getting all those things together, too. And I think it's, this is our new headquarters. And the headquarters are down here in Mercer County. So that's pretty special, too.
That's a big deal for southern West Virginia and Mercer County, like you said.
Absolutely. It's a strong community.
It really is. So, Robert, tell us more about your involvement with ChildLaw Services.
Oh, well, I'm involved with teen court.
Okay.
It was really big. I realized we shrunk. But we're starting to get bigger now, which is really, really good. We've gotten a lot more kids, and we're getting involved with kids who are maybe, say they're troubled, but not really troubled. I forgot saying that, but we go through, and we've actually recruited some of them that went through our cases, and it's such a blast. We helped with the new house. Amazing.
What did you all do with the new house?
We moved a lot of the items from the old one to the new one, and just refurnished what we could. We painted.
Yes,
I know that was a lot of fun. We took one night. That was
Sounds like fun.
Yes.
They painted shutters, they painted chairs, part of the porch area, and like you said too, they were a lot of the manual labor of toting things from the old place to the new place.
And also bonding during it. I think that was really cool.
Yeah.
And they showed up at the open house in numbers too, so we had teenagers running all over the place.
My mom was like, oh, she loved it though. She loved it.
Lots of like energy all over. So Kathy, can you elaborate more on Robert's role with teen court then, and like what that is? What does that mean?
Well, teen court is it's a statutory court, so it's the Supreme Court has ordained that this is a really good method for treating kids, and what we have found nationwide is it has the least recidivist rate of any other remedy that you could have for kids. So it's just for children and teenagers who are first-time offenders. So if you break the law, maybe you smoked at school, and that's against the law, and it's against school rules, of course, too. Or maybe you've been truant, or maybe there was a petty larceny at Walmart or something along those lines. You have the option. You can elect to go through teen court, and if you do, your jury will be teenagers. Your attorney will be a teenager. The bailiff will be a teenager. Everyone except for the judge will be teenagers. And so they are, in turn, deciding your sentence. And part of the sentence is always that you then have to serve on the jury. And what we have found is that little circle of then serving on the jury and then finding new friends and making, like Robert was saying, bonding with new kids in different circles of life and that sort of thing has been very, very productive for the kids. And a lot of them stay on, and the kids, they meet every single week. They do social activities together in addition to the court, too. So that, I think that's what's helped those teenagers not go back and do those same mistakes again. So Robert has been involved in that for several years now, and in that capacity, ChildLaw Services always has a youth or a young person that's part of our board of directors, so making the major decisions for ChildLaw Services, and Robert was elected to that role as well. So
That's
he's
a
on
big
our
deal.
Yes, it's a really big deal. It might be boring, I'm not sure.
I mean, but that seems like to us, we're like, that's a big deal, though. I mean, looking at it, Robert, that's great experience for you, it seems like.
It is. I think that a lot. I'm like, wow, this is so good, especially if I'm wanting to go into acting. My big thing. I'm like, wow, I'm moving up from down here to up here.
Well, exactly. It's
And now I'm
step by
here.
step. And why do you think it's important for you to be a part of the board? What have you learned since you've been on the board?
Well, I'm learning to be a leader, for sure. I think that's really cool. And I don't know, I feel more powerful now that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
More connected.
Yes, and not scared. I used to be so nervous. Now I'm like confident and listening to her and what she's saying. I'm like, I do. Yes.
I love that. I love hearing stories of inspiration like that, and then just like building up your confidence and things like that. We have so much more to talk about, but we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back, though. Welcome back to this edition of In Focus, everyone. This morning we're talking about ChildLaw Services. Joining me once again, Kathy Wallace and Robert Hill. And I want to thank you both for just shedding some insight on what each of you do, and also just the importance of ChildLaw Services in southern West Virginia and around the state now, too.
Absolutely, yes.
And Kathy, can you elaborate more on, I guess, what ChildLaw Services does? Break it down for our viewers as far as what types of children you represent and what situations they're facing.
Well, we will represent a child in any kind of situation that they're in. So any legal problem a child has, they could come to Child Law and we would help them out. The breakdown ends up being probably about 85% abuse and neglect cases. So children who've been abused or neglected by their caretaker, whether it's a parent or a guardian or something along those lines. So those are very, very tough cases. We also do a nice percentage of family law cases. So if there's a high dispute between two parents who are getting divorced, for instance, we might help the judge make some determinations about what's in the best interest of the child. We represent children who are juvenile delinquents or status offenders. We've done adoptions. We've done some emancipations. So like I said, anything that a child might come in and need help for. There's been a couple who've been sued and we've helped them out on that situation. Or we also find the schools call us pretty frequently and they'll just say, we've got a kid and we think there's something not quite right happening at school, at home, and they've been traumatized by something. Could you maybe meet with them and see if we can sort some of this out? And we do that whenever the community asks to. So like I said, we just try to, we specialize in legal issues for children, and we try to have knowledge about any of those issues that might affect them. And then, like I mentioned, our founder, Mary Ellen, she said it's just not enough to handle those situations. A lot of times that's an emergency situation, so some big crisis has already happened and we're trying to help the kid through that. And she said we need to do more than that. We need to do things that are preventative and help build stronger kids. And that's why we started Teen Court. That was, I think, our first program we ever had. And then we have other programs. We have a first book program that you mentioned at the beginning of the program, and that's what we did the book fair for. And so every child that comes through our doors is given a book. And
wonderful.
Yeah, some of our kids don't have any other possessions if they're moving from house to house. So that's been a really fun program for us, and it also helps start conversations about hard things if we're reading a book together and talking about those things. And then we have a Kids Run the Nation, an after-school program at the area schools if a school wants us to come in, and that builds stronger young people too. They end up running a 5K at the end of the semester, and then they also do a community service project. And we have a Teens and Tots. That's one of our newest programs, the Teens and Tots. And that's for any teenager who has a kid or is expecting to have a baby. We help give them life skills, get a banking account, apply to colleges, learn how to breastfeed, and we can bring in guest speakers to talk about all that. So just a whole myriad of programs that build those stronger young people.
Well, right, and that can really go far. I mean, as far as helping with life skills too, like you mentioned for the expectant mothers, and just some of the other programs you offer, they're needed, it seems like, in any community.
Definitely. And we have such a high rate of teen pregnancies in West Virginia too. And a lot of our teenagers, we found, feel really lost. I mean, it's hard to go to school when you're starting to show that you're pregnant. I have a client who was called all sorts of negative, bad names when she came back to school, and here she is trying to better herself and finish school, and then she had to deal with that on top of also being pregnant and everything else too. So just giving them some added support, I think, is very important.
And Robert, why do you think that this is such a special and a needed resource to have Child Law Services here in Southern West Virginia? Why do you think it's important to have it right here?
There are a lot of kids. Oh, sorry. There are a lot of kids here. I know for like a fact, as like growing up as a foster kid and then being adopted, which is amazing, by the way, that are lost, as she said, and that don't really have homes, or maybe pregnant, or feel like they're just thrown out to be abandoned. But it can come to a place where maybe they can settle down, you know, have friendships and learn and maybe know what they want to do in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and just to have that fellowship, like you kind of touched on the camaraderie when you all were just painting and getting along, but that type of human companionship seems so important in light of COVID and just any time really, to have that companionship and just to have that support system there too.
Well, Robert and I were talking out in the waiting room right before the show that a friend of mine had just, is part of the Kids Count, West Virginia Kids Count, which takes a whole lot of data in the state and kind of bounces it back back to us so that we can see a profile of what West Virginia is like. And one of the stats that was really interesting to us, if you look at the current demographics, is that 3 out of 30 children are in foster care in West Virginia.
Wow.
And 4 out of 30 children have been exposed to drugs in their home. And that's, I mean, I think that's pretty high. It's definitely very significant. And like Robert was saying, to have that safe place or a place that you know that you'll be heard and somebody's going to at least get you in the right direction.
Most of us in there are adopted, so I thought that was really cool too.
Part of the teen court, is that right?
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. Yeah,
and that's
really
important to
interesting.
have that fellowship too. I mean, to have that common ground and everything. And Kathy, can you also talk a little bit more about the expansion across the state and just the journey over the past 20 years? You mentioned it started here with just, what, 2 employees or so, and then you all have come so far as an organization.
We have, and I don't think we intended to grow necessarily, but I think that the model here has been so strong, and we have become, we have a reputation of going that extra mile like we were talking about, and word has gotten out, and some of the judges in area counties have said, we want that kind of representation for our kids. We need somebody on the ground that's paying attention and who are going out to the homes and seeing what's happening there, and who are doing the research and learning about things, developmental issues for kids and that sort of thing, so that you can help us out. So one by one, other counties keep asking us to come, and we have been very fortunate to find people who have grown up and wanted to do this kind of work and are passionate about it too. So finding the right people and then having other counties want us to come there, that's what's led to our expansion. And a good example is the Martinsburg office. I was not planning on expanding to Martinsburg. It's so far away.
It is really far away. We're talking more than 4 hours. 4.5
I think it's
hours,
5.5. I don't know how far, but it's about that amount of time. But the community there got together and said, we want the child law representation for our kids up here. We need that. And they started raising money on their own.
Wow.
They found office space on their own. They found an attorney. And at that point, we were like, what else can we do? We're going to have to do this.
Well, I mean, and that's a big deal because, like you said, it's the opposite end of the state, and like for them to raise their own money and say, we need your services here, that speaks a lot for that community and what they did to bring you all there. How long was that process to get ChildLaw Services up to Martinsburg?
October.
Really? So it wasn't that long ago?
No, they came to us in October, and they moved really fast. The Skinner Law Firm up in Martinsburg area also said, we will match anything that you all, the community raises. We will match up to $10,000. And I think they just hit that $10,000 mark. So that enabled us to get started much faster than I thought. And then we were very fortunate to find an attorney up there who went to law school with express desire to represent children and to do this kind of work. So I don't think we had a choice.
So are there plans to expand beyond the Mountain State at this point, maybe into Virginia or any other neighboring states?
I think we have our hands full right now. So not currently.
Not yet.
Not currently. And there are still areas in West Virginia that I feel like are rural enough, and there are bad things happening that still could use our representation too. So if we grow anywhere, we'll be in those counties, but not for a little while.
Okay. We'll check with you probably in another couple of years to see what the plan is.
That sounds good. That sounds good.
We have to take another quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to this edition of In Focus. This morning we've been talking all about ChildLaw Services. Joining me once again, Kathy Wallace, the Executive Director, and also Robert Hale, who's a board member and also on Teen Court. So Robert, I'll start with you in this segment. Tell us more about what kind of skills you've gained in Teen Court. I know you mentioned a boost to your confidence and some other great skills you've learned, but what else have you picked up since you've been a part of Teen Court?
To be caring. I know through a lot of the cases we do, not a lot of people can care, and these kids are out there and they expect us. We're deciding their fate and what's the next step. And I know it's a lot of emotion and it's a lot. I don't know, but it's caring, I think, and showing that you actually are there and that, hey, you'll get through this. You never know.
Yeah, you don't, and you never know how you could be an inspiration out there to someone who's a part of the court. Like you said, the jury is also, they're teenagers.
Right.
And Kathy, how do you feel like this helps teenagers develop certain life skills, being a part of Teen Court?
Well, I think I mentioned a little bit earlier about how you are running around in different circles, so sometimes just changing out who you're talking to. And one of the neat things I think about Teen Court is we have all the way from middle school, so all the way from 7th grade all the way up to 12th grade. So you have kids from different schools, different ages, different grades, different backgrounds, you know, all sorts of backgrounds. You have some kids who want to grow up to be attorneys or law enforcement, and then you have some kids who haven't even thought about what they want to do, and you put them all together, and it's just going to happen that there's some good that gets all passed around. And I think that it's just, I think it lifts everybody up. I really do. It lifts us up just seeing it happen too. And they have stepped forward to be a part of what child law is all about too. You know, like them volunteering to do some of those things. Recently, we had a Heroes Day at the park, and it was on Juneteenth, and we were having a Juneteenth speaker come in who canceled on us on the last minute, and we were able to reach out to Teen Court, and Robert was the one who volunteered to help us out. And
wonderful, Robert.
He spoke and gave a history lesson and did a craft, an interactive craft with the kids to teach them about, you know, hopes and dreams and things that we can learn from the Juneteenth experience. And I think that just shows, like he said too, of developing these leadership skills, and that part that our founder wanted us so badly to get is empowering and building stronger kids so that they're better ready to face crises when they happen or trauma when they happen. They're stronger, and, you know, it's just all around good, isn't it, Robert?
It is.
Yeah, and how do you think that experience helped you, Robert, speaking to that crowd on Juneteenth?
I thought it was cool. I was speaking to little kids then.
Yeah.
They were very quiet.
I bet.
Some were funny, and my sister was, but I was like, right now I'm teaching.
You know how kids are. Kids can, you know.
It was fun, and teaching them about that everyone's the same. Your blood, you're bleeding the same, no matter if you're white, black, green. Oh, my mom says you're green. But you're all the same, and it's empowering little kids that growing up, you may look different, but on the inside, I cracked an egg, and I was like, you're the same, like yolk.
Yeah, exactly. And well, and that's also empowering for you to inspire, you're only 18, but to inspire people even younger than you, right? Because then now they're looking up to you as a role model, and they're maybe thinking, well, you know, maybe I can do that too, and maybe they are shy now, but you never know. You might have inspired one of them to be a leader just like you one day.
And you can be.
Very cool.
Absolutely.
Kathy, what do you think is the most important purpose of Child Law Services? You have so many great programs, so many great facets of your organization, but what would you say is the most important aspect?
Well, I think we keep looking at our mission year to year to see if we want to change it or if it's different, and it has stayed the same for all 20 years, and that is to give children a voice. And so many times children are overlooked, or they're treated like property, or they're treated like that person to fight over during the divorce or to use against the other partner. And we look at them as individuals and our future. We look at them as our future, and we strive to let them be heard and make sure that their voices are heard and that they see that in themselves. They see that they have a purpose and they have a reason, and what they say is important. And I think that's what it all boils down to in everything we do, whether it's a program, a project, whether it's Morgantown or Martinsburg, or whether it's here. That's what we strive to do.
Do you have volunteer opportunities available for those who may be interested?
We absolutely do. I'm glad you brought that up.
Glad you have opportunities.
Of course, we always have painting to do. Yes. Robert can tell you, moving furniture. But other than that, a really good opportunity is with our Kids Run the Nation program, and in that program we have lots of life lessons, but we look for assistant coaches to come, and they can either do the crafts and the projects with the kids, or they can help run. Yes, we have runners and walkers, we have all in between, but getting kids active and getting them out and about, and we want them each to have adult mentors, and so we look for them there.
That's wonderful.
We have sort of the equivalent of like a big brother, a big sister program where we can match up folks that want to be, take one of our kids out to eat or show them some of those adult life skills that we spoke about earlier. So that's an opportunity too. And of course we take donations in terms of anything for prenatal. We have a diaper bank for anyone in the community who needs diapers. So if you want to donate diapers, or if you need diapers, either one, we're the place to go there too. So, there's a couple opportunities right there, but we welcome volunteers, and we'll find if there's something you'd like to do that we haven't thought of, we'll probably match you up that way too.
Well, that's perfect. And if someone's out there, if they're watching this morning and they're interested in learning more, can you share a phone number or maybe a website with them that they could find out more information?
Absolutely. Our phone number is 304-425-9973, and we have a website, www.ChildLawServices.com.
Perfect. And I believe that you have a Facebook page too.
We do.
Social
We
media.
have several of them. We have one for Child Law Services, and we have one for Mercer County Teen Court, one for the Southern Snuggles is the name of the diaper bank, and also one for the Teens and Tots.
Okay. And where are you physically located? Let's remind our viewers where in Princeton your new location is in
Our
case they
new
want to
location,
stop by.
yes. Our new location's at 1709 West Main Street.
Okay.
Beautiful old Crockett house.
Oh, love it. And with apparently a lot of heart put into the work there as far as the painting and the decorations that you all did. Well, wonderful. Kathy and Robert, I want to thank you both for coming by the studio this morning and just sharing some more insight on just the importance of child law services that originated right here in southern West Virginia, and now its expansion and just some of the great things that you all are doing statewide now. So thank you so much.
Yeah, we are so
Thank you.
excited, and you made it very easy too, so I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Kathy. And thank you, viewers, for watching. And if you have a story idea for me, if you have an idea for a segment, this show really is about people and events in the two Virginias. You can send me an email. That's mzosh, M-Z-O-S-H, at WVVA.com. But that does it for this edition of In Focus. We'll see you right back here next Sunday. Have a great day.